Kazvam se Mark. I'm of Canada. Hello, my name is Mark. I'm from Canada. Welcome to the technology track. Thank you very much for everybody coming. But first of all, I have a quick question. Half full or half empty? How many people think, okay, half full? How many people think half empty? How many people have a different answer? It's completely full, because it's half full of liquid and half full of air. It turns out that the optimists are right. Everybody else is actually totally and utterly wrong. The optimists are right. As we're on this technology track, we're living in an incredible world where there is huge potential to do amazing things. And what's interesting with today's technology is you can do those amazing things from anywhere on the planet. With technology, there is nothing stopping gigantic billion-dollar companies coming out of anywhere, and we're seeing this happening regularly already, and this thing will accelerate. So it is my absolute pleasure to be your host and moderator today on the technology track. And that also means that I have the dubious pleasure of then announcing myself as the very first speaker. This was not deliberate. I'll give a little bit of background about myself. So I'm a professor at Hult International Business School. I'm a technology entrepreneur, so I'm one of the founders of crowdsourcing and collective intelligence. I had a software company that was doing business-to-business software, doing what I would tell my mother would be suggestion boxes, but obviously for million-dollar problems, not to improve the quality of your canteen food. I've done many, many different things. I've been a spy in a particular generation as well, but that's definitely a drinks time conversations. But one of the things that I've been working on very recently is an area that I think is important for all of us in technology, and this is scaling. How do we get a very, very big result? Ideally, by doing almost nothing. This will be a good thing. So we're going to be talking today about 50 shades of scaling. Now, another thing I'd just like to ask everybody, who here would like to get whatever they want? 3 people? Seriously? Another try. Who would like to get whatever they want? Okay. Now, you have to watch out, because be very careful what you wish for. I won't tell anybody, it's okay. To get whatever you want. Now, I do mention be careful what it is you wish for. I remember when I told my mother when I was an early teenager that when I was growing up, I wanted to be the CEO of a company. She said, this is easy. Set up your own window washing company. Then you can be the chief executive officer, the chief marketing officer, chief operations officer, chief of everything. So I became a lot more specific. In that case, I'd like $1 million company with 40 employees and take it public. Okay, I became more specific. But to get whatever you want is very, very simple, and I'll kick off with this. To get whatever you want, you need 3 things. So the first thing is to know what it is that you want. You need to have a goal. With this goal, things become clear. Things become priority and not priority. The second thing is you need to give yourself a time frame. I use birthdays for my own time frame. You shouldn't have a time frame that is too aggressive. Now, normally for entrepreneurs, all of our time frames are aggressive. I remember taking my company public and being told it would take 18 months to go public. And I thought, of course, it'll take me 6 months. It took 18 months to go public. However, we as entrepreneurs live in a world of conditional reality where we just kind of make stuff up, and eventually if enough people believe in us, particularly if enough customers believe in us and give us revenue, we can make incredible things happening. So we got, first thing, know what it is that you want. Second thing, give yourself a time frame. The third thing is the most important thing of all, and I thoroughly urge you to do this through your entire experience here at Webit, is to tell as many people as possible what it is that you want. Because it turns out in the world of abundance, and we truly live in a world of abundance, that the more you share what it is that you're working on, the more likelihood it is that you will find somebody directly or indirectly who will help you actually achieve that goal. So here's a quick little start as we look at scaling, that you can achieve big things, know what it is that you want, time frame, tell as many people as you want. So with that, we're going to go into the world of scaling. So the way that I'm defining scaling is how do we get very, very large results, outsized results, by doing small, smart moves, aided by a little bit of good fortune. And I'm going to walk you through a case study which is directly relevant to the world of startups. And this is based on one of the world's best-selling books. What would that be? What do you think one of the world's best-selling books is? Sold 100 million copies in just 2 years. Harry Potter? I wish it were. Bible? No, I definitely wish it. No. 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is one of the best-selling books of all human history. When the aliens look at our planet, they'll be saying, but does anybody here not know what 50 Shades of Grey is? It's an office romance with whips and chains. Plus or minus, sure. 50 Shades of Grey is one of the fastest-selling books of all human history. And what is fascinating from a scaling perspective is that it was mostly done on purpose. And this is the interesting thing that we can learn from scaling. So when Erica Leonard was a housewife, a TV producer living in London. She'd never written anything before. As we can tell, by the way, the book is terrible. It's just terrible. So she was given a copy of the Twilight series over Christmas. Now, that was one of the best-selling books. So there's a power law that says, like, there's the #1 seller that everybody focuses on, and then the #20 seller still exists, but it's kind of nothing. Well, Twilight is a platform, and it turns out there's a lot of people that love fan fiction. So this is where you take an original character, let's say like Harry Potter, and then you imagine him either as an extension from the story or in a crazy world. So you might imagine Harry Potter as a Bulgarian startup entrepreneur. In their case, you imagine the Twilight characters from this very, very popular series as an office boss and a ditzy journalist. Okay. Now, the next thing that she did, and this is very, very powerful, and in fact, if I give you a little sort of hint, as I sort of go around the world and I meet a lot of technology entrepreneurs and very successful people, the best way to be a leader these days is called confident humility. We need to be confident as leaders, but we need to be humble in that, to be honest, I have no clue what's going on. So let's ask the crowd, and they will tell us. So sure enough, she published her book for free. She managed to get 37,000 comments from different readers around the world. Now, many of us will be doing technology and software, and we have beta users. Well, she had beta readers. She'd never been to Seattle, and she was able to get people from Seattle immediately helping her to say no. They'd never go to Starbucks. She'd never go to Starbucks. Actually, it's nice coffee. Next thing she did is she did synchronization. So this is another way of getting an even bigger system. She hadn't finished writing the book, and she began to produce a chapter every single week. This then created a rhythm in her fan base, an expectation that there's another one. It also forced her to write really compelling content. So even if it's not very good, you can't stop reading it. So this is another thing she did about synchronizing her network. Then she got lucky. So there were 3 mothers raising money for a cancer charity, and their chosen way of raising money was by doing an outtake chapter from a fan fiction site. So that outtake chapter managed to raise $80,000 across all of the different authors. Her chapter alone, single chapter, raised $30,000 for charity. Now, at this point, she'd written 110 chapters of drivel that people loved. She then realized, I'm sitting on a fortune. And so what she did is she was able to then take that chapter, go to a publisher, an independent publisher called the Writers Cafe out of Australia, and do a publishing deal. And she pulled it off the internet, so she took it from free to private, then annoyed some readers who never knew that it was going to be taken off from being private. But very quickly, because of print-on-demand technology, Kindle ebooks, it would mean that very soon her first 2 books would be available immediately. And then the 3rd book would also come out very, very soon. So even though she lost some of her fans, the vast majority were waiting. And sure enough, 250,000 people bought copies within the first few months of it coming out on independent publishing. Now, there's a very weird thing in here in that normally when you publish a book, there's at least 12 months beforehand to plan. There's a marketing budget. You do a book tour. All of these things are typically planned. But in her case, she went from doing everything for free to having a publishing deal in a couple of weeks. And because of the speed of publishing with the changes in technology, she was able to go to market globally in a couple of weeks. Now, this meant that she had a challenge. She had to do a book tour, but there was no budget and no time. Well, she became one of the pioneers, the accidental pioneers, of actually doing book tours on book websites like Goodreads. And that meant that those websites are hubs where everybody goes to for content. So she was able to target what's called network hubs, where you go to the hub and they're able to communicate out. Now, one of the hubs she targeted was Devalicious Ones. How many people here know Desperate Housewives? Sorry, I meant the TV show. These are the jokes, and this is being streamed live. So Devalicious Moms targets that segment of the market, so very much sort of East Coast Connecticut. The woman who ran this thing was so excited by the book that she invited Erica Leonard to New York to go to a loft where there was a book signing for 200 people, including lots in the publishing industry. And a couple of weeks later, she signs a 7-figure book deal with Vintage Books, part of Random House. So now she can use that network hub, and she can scale this thing. She was able to, there's a scaling thing called catching the wave. So you can either unleash a wave of energy, you can ride a wave, but one of the things you can do is catch a wave. There's always waves. She caught the wave of ebook readers. So you can be quietly looking at your BBC website, your news on your tablet, switching to hardcore office pornography. Swipe, swipe. You don't have to be doing that now. But she was able to take advantage of ebook reading. In fact, 50% of sales of 50 Shades in the United Kingdom were on ebooks. Another thing she did was find amplifiers. So within a network, not everybody is equal. There are certain people within a network, some organizations, some roles, and their job is to amplify the message. Because the book was now published by Random House, it meant the New York Times could publish a story on it. And this was a picture that was in the New York Times 2 days before it went live. And actually, if you can't read it here, it says, yes, this is the book everybody is talking about. Already you can see they were deliberately seeding this virality, this like, you've got to read this thing. And it's actually a little bit like, sometimes you get invited to a party, you don't want to go, and your friend says, no, you've got to come, you've got to come, you've got to come. You go there, and it's a crap party. And then you get there, and they say, yeah, no, I told you, it's crap. You've got to see it. But this case, it was pretty much using the viral effect to amplify. It was using the network effect as well. This is, by and large, a book for women, written by a woman for women, so men really don't get it. But right now, they're able to say, have you read this thing? And there was a communal spirit. We began to see riding the wave, like moving into popular fiction. If you Google this thing, there's no time to show it. It's very, very funny. It's a spoof Amazon advert, and she is on the edge of a washing machine that's moving. I will say no more than that. And then there was the movie, really riding the wave, pretty much going from the book to the movie. The movie itself managed to sell $500 million worth of tickets in coming out. So it's one of the best movies of all time in terms of grossing at the box office. So what does this mean for scaling? She actually did, and my book describes it more, about 16 different things that allowed her to scale. And this created a $2 billion business out of nothing. So for me, it's about, some of you have heard of your business plan canvas. For me, there's a scaling canvas. And I've got a book that will give more information. And this will then give you some insights into how you can scale technologies to do truly great things in the world. And with that, as a speaker, I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you.